Liberation, greetings to all and sundry, my dear people of Ambazonia, my fellow brave warriors of the Southern Cameroon's liberation movement. Accept liberation greetings from me, Comrade John Akuro. Today is February 11. I know at this time that I'm talking now, it's already in the early hours of February 12th in Ambazonia, but it is still February 11 where I am. That's in Eastern Time in the United States of America. And so I like to extend hearty salutes to all our people on Ground Zero. I am very delighted to be with each and every one of us today. I'm so glad that I have the opportunity once more to be in the studio for us to have another very important and interesting conversation. My people of Ambazonia, the conversation of today is particularly important, really important, because we have so much that we have to talk about. Just so much. You will be telling me we have spoken already so much. We have said a lot of things over the past 8 years. And so, what is there perhaps to talk about today? Again, that I consider to be so important. You definitely have seen the title of today's conversation. You got it right. It is the epitaph. And of course, I know that some will be wondering what is epitaph all about. Epitaph actually means something by which a person, time, or event will be remembered. And I'm sure you'll be wondering, this man is alive, he's looking sound, safe, and strong. Why are we talking today about epitaph? But I want you to pay careful attention. I say so because I've said on this slot a lot of times, I've said on this platform a lot of times, that nowadays people don't defend what is right. They defend who they like and benefit from. I repeat it. Nowadays people don't defend what is right. They defend who they like and benefit from. This is particularly true with respect to our liberation movement. And what I have to tell you in the second part of this broadcast is just so important that I want you, if you are tuned in today, share this link and share until your fingers pain. And make sure you don't move until we get to the end of this broadcast. It's true, it's going to be particularly long. Long because what I have to say today, I may not have the opportunity to say this again. But I want you to hear it from me. Take it from me. And I want you to note this down. If this will be the only time you have really ever taken time to listen to me all the way to the end, I will implore you to do that. Because the discussion of today is so defining to our liberation movement. And I want us to all really take time and pay attention. But before we get into the viv of our conversation, the last time while I was here, I think the broadcast before last, I talked about royalty. I talked about our traditional institutions. I talked about our traditional rulers. And I talked about what exactly they are doing in connivance with the colonial administration of La République du Cameroon, with the oppressor who is determined to destroy anything, everything that we have as value, everything that really defines us, everything that we hold so dear to our hearts and minds. The colonial administration, the oppressor, La République du Cameroon, fighting a French proxy war, are determined to make sure they work on all of that. But my people of Ambazonia, we as a people have conquered everything. I mean, everything that could have made us to tremble. And that is why, despite all what La République du Cameroon and the French have done, we are still standing. I mean, we are still standing. And we will continue to stand until that day when we get what we want. And trust me, you've heard our international friends say it, that the people of Ambazonia will end up getting exactly what they want. It is only a matter of time. I'd like you to note this and note it very well. It's going to be very important in the conversation that we'll be having ahead. That said, it finally came to pass that the very, uh, you know, should I say, hunger stricken farms, some hunger stricken farms in Momo, some ill intentioned individuals who found themselves parachuted one way or the other at the helm of some of our villages and who don't even know what they represent, despite our continuous calls, pieces of advice, and warning, went ahead to once more spit on our tradition in Benue. They did that, of course, on the 9th of February, on Sunday, the 9th of February, as I said, because they anticipated that there was going to be lockdown from the 8th. What they did is, as early as I was told, as the 7th of February, they had already moved to Bengui and were lodged in some local areas. There's some in, some areas that I won't want to call because I don't want to bring harm onto those places, and waited there until that Sunday to go and do, not until Monday, the 10th, yes, to go and do the stupidity that they had to go and do. That was done on the 9th of February, yeah. So they went out there in Bengui, and as you can see, the person you are seeing on my screen there is called, his name is, what is that name again? Let me look it up so quickly. His name is, Benoit. Yeah, that's Benoit Etaba. Yeah, Benoit Etaba. His name is Fouda Benoit Etaba. Voilà. Fouda Benoit Etaba Nikes. That's the colonial SGO in Momo. And you see him there adorned in traditional regalia and with artifacts reserved only, I mean only, for the forms. We have had that discussion before, right? Now you can take a closer look at him again. You can see him there. That is a son of the Bulu Ekan Beti clan, the same people who have been murdering our people, who have assassinated our youth, our disabled people, our old, who have raped our daughters, raped our mothers, destroyed our property, burned over 400 of our village settlements, looted our people, desecrated our schools, sent their dogs to go to our schools and desecrate our children right in schools, cause our children to swim in mud. Of course, we saw them in motion pictures, skinning a handicapped person, uh, Sam Sawyer, alive in Bamenda. Despite that, these lunatics you find in this picture, to my left and to my right, calling themselves royalty, calling themselves fun, thought that after presiding over such a massacre, after such dehumanization in our land, after trampling over our dignity, it made sense to decorate Fouda Etaba Banwanikes in this regalia. You see, those hunger-stricken individuals there, calling themselves fun. When I look at all of them, I'm tempted to think this one that I see to, if you are looking at me, perhaps you see him to the left and I'm seeing him to the right with, with lenses on. He looks like this is the fun of Ngemowa. Like this is the one of Ngemowa in Moramo, if I'm not mistaken. But look at the disgraceful kind of things that they are doing, the disgusting kind of things that they are doing. I'm saying this and I'm repeating it. This spittle that they are throwing on our tradition. No, it is not on our tradition that they are throwing. This spittle they are throwing on their lineage. They are throwing on their children, on their grandchildren, and on their great grandchildren. I'm saying this and I'm reiterating, like seriously, because that day is coming. It's not so far. That day is coming when we as a people in Ambazonia will sit down and take note, because note is being taken. Pictures are being kept, videos are being kept, records are being made. The Ambazonia Genocide Library is there recording all of these incidents. And take note, when the time will come, exactly what they think they are avoiding from La République du Cameroon, because some of them who reached out to me were not ashamed, were not shy to tell me that as a matter of fact, they had no choice to do this. Listen to me carefully, that they had no choice to do this because they were told that if they don't do it, if they don't do this, what is going to happen is a lot of them will be dethroned, or La République threatened that they were going to, set opposition against them and create chieftaincy wahala in their various villages and dethrone them. So for that reason, they have therefore to do everything to cooperate with the colonial administration, to sign motions of support whenever they want them to sign, to distribute titles to the people whenever they want them to distribute, and all of those things. And my response to those of them who reached out to me to say that kind of trash was, take note, you are therefore going to find yourself in between the hammer and its anvil, because we have a lot of funds full of dignity. We have a lot of chiefs who are still very dignified, who have refused clearly to find themselves enmeshed in this nonsense. And they are standing shoulder tall. And I told them, your thought is that everybody, all of those in royalty, will be destroyed because of the increasing calls that we should banish fondoms, chiefdoms, and everything when we finally kick La République du Cameroon out of our land and restore the soul of Ambazonia. And I said, you are mistaken. What is simply going to happen is that those individuals who did these things, who carried out these disgraceful acts, note will be taken. And we will make sure I may not be there. Even if I'm not there, this is, a responsibility that will be bequeathed to whoever will be there at the time, to make sure they single out the families of all these royal ingrates, of all these royal miscreants, and make sure that their lineages never go closer to royalty anymore. So if you are a prince, you are a princess, oh, you are aspiring that you someday become fun, make sure you begin to draw the attention of your father, who is fun right now, to that reality that his actions today are either going to uphold the claim of your lineage to royalty, or make sure that your own future is totally mortgaged. This is something that we must draw the attention of our people to. I want to tell you this. Elsewhere in the world, people have fought, toiled, they died. They died. They sacrificed their lives. They sacrificed property, sacrificed everything to make their countries what they are. And those are the countries that are so beautiful, so neat, so attractive. Oh, some of them look even like heaven on earth. That we are all dying in the seas. That we are all dying in jungles. That we are all using all kinds of means. People even hanging on the wheels of aircraft and flying in horrible cold in the skies because we want to move to such lands. People died to make such things happen. This is our time. This is our opportunity to make sure that we sacrifice also to ensure that we will bequeath to future generations of southern Cameroonians a homeland. My people of Ambazonia, you must bear this in mind. There is nowhere like home. I'll be coming back to this right ahead. But take a careful look at all the individuals, at all these miscreants inside here calling themselves royalty, because they are a disgrace. I mean, a serious disgrace, especially to the manhood of the grassfield, because we pride ourselves as people who generally know our right, who generally know how to differentiate between what is good and bad, and who generally stand up for what we believe in. Not cowards like these ones, moving with tiger skins and still thinking that they represent what they ought to represent. Now it's just empty shells. Nothing, just carcasses moving. And you will note that what this so-called forms in Momo did, you take again a careful look at their attire, is exactly what another form had done before in Douala. This form, von Ju Wilson of Cochin, who did this with Samuel Etophis, adorned Samuel Etophis in the same traditional regalia that we have seen now put on Fuda Etaba Benoit Cares. And we heard all kinds of insults rained on him. Kevin Shomitan of Bambala, who says, or who is La République du Cameroon's chairman of their special status Northwest House of Chiefs, came out even and wrote a press release to distance its institutions and the funds of the grassfield from the act carried out by Fonju Wilson, and questioned his use of that specific traditional regalia. And as a result, you know what has happened? I'm putting that screenshot there so that you see. CNN reported that Fonju Wilson of Cochin has, as a result of that act, as a result of that, should I say, the outrage that followed his action, been removed from several WhatsApp forums of forms of the grassfield. It has been literally excoriated. So they are simply saying he has been ostracized and thrown out from a lot of WhatsApp fora which bring together many forms of the grassfield. But we have seen other people do the same thing. You recall that the first time that this matter came to a fore was when Honorable Enwe Francis Abi wore the same attire in Yaoundé. And Kevin Shomitan of Bambala came on again with a press release and summoned Honorable Enwe Francis Abi. I call him honorable because I always say there was a time when he was honorable, he was actually an elected representative of the people. That thing he called senator, I will never call it, because now he's an impostor. He's an appointee of Mr. Paul Biya, and he is there to represent the interest of a bloody genocidal colonial administration in our land. And so he was summoned to appear before the so-called Northwest House of Chiefs to explain how he got this traditional regalia and who told him that he had the authority to wear it. Of course, we know how he ended up with Lele Lafrique, the Benchofo, queries, and all of that. So I suppose that the same treatment meted out to Fonju Wilson should be the same treatment that will be meted out on these renegades from Momo who went out there in Bengui to spit on the traditions and customs of the people of the grassfield. This is something that's absolutely important. You must have noted that although is that lie Republic of Cameroon calls you they, I'm not specifically talking about it. I will come back to this studio, I suppose this Wednesday, February 12th, to look at the rubbish that the diaper wearing nonagenarian, somebody said no. He wasn't saying I'm wrong by addressing him as nonagenarian because, of course, he's a nonagenarian. He says, make it a greater mockery by referring to him as nanogenarian. Well, Mr. Paul Biya, to come to the inanities that he said and the sheer emptiness. And I will talk to you about the attitude of that speech. That will be this Wednesday, February 12th. So for right now, I'm still on this institution or on these people who call themselves our funds, who have descended into total disrepute. Another one who continues to be in total disrepute is this other one of Bamising. They call him on what is that his name again? The name is somewhere. Okay, they call him Montong Richard. They call him Montong Richard. He's the son of Bamising. We have also witnessed him in very disgraceful circumstances. I'll come back to it. But before I do, the other day I talked to you all here about a reaction from someone that I really do respect. I respect him so much because of his education. I respect him so much because of his age. And I respect him so much because of his penchant to details. Oh, yeah. He likes things to be perfect. He likes fine details to be paid attention to. And he generally wants us to hang too much to the facts. And so he wrote me this after he followed the slot that I made on the Chiefs. And their very disturbing attitudes in recent times. He wrote this: John, your program on traditional rulers raises some serious unanswered questions. I strongly suggest that you take a step back and consider the other side of the coin. He says, nostalgia for the good old days ought to take into consideration the upkeep of traditional chiefs or funds who, unlike ordinary subjects, did no farming, trading, animal breeding, wine tapping, etc. They depended on material and financial contributions from their subjects for their own upkeep. That continues to be the case until today. Because once they depended, it's as if they still don't. A good lot of them do. In circumstances where they don't have, that is a matter for right ahead. You yourself know how education and rural exodus has depopulated their support base, creating a big vacuum which President Paul Biya was more than willing to fill by putting them on his payroll. They only started receiving pay a few years ago. I'm not sure it's up to 10 years since they started receiving pay. If it's up to 10, it will just be about that, not very much. So it's a recent phenomenon. But this untoward attitude did not start just today. Nature has never tolerated a vacuum in the past. It is not doing so now. And he says, this is a serious matter. I had the privilege of discussing it casually with the late Fonfosi Yakumto of Mbo Yakum, that's Bambalang, and Fondo Gwanin of Balikumbat. I was close to late Fon Angwafo of Mancon and could see how the CPDM had become a vital part of him. Before Mfon Mukete passed away, he was exactly in the same fix as I saw first from my intimacy with his brother Ndoki Mukete, his sons Mbe Mukete, Ebel Mukete, and the notorious Mukete gang leader. Listen, before I even continue, take note. Mfon Mukete, you will never describe Mfon Mukete as having been at any given time destitute, that he needed to get into politics to make money. No. Mfon Mukete had estates, still has. I mean, a lot of estates in Meme. Mfon Mukete had never been a poor man. And From time immemorial, Mfon Mukete was almost the forever board chairman of Intelcam before it became Camtel. I mean forever. So don't even say that about Mfon Mukete. Dr. Atem Ebako, who forsook medical practice when he refused transfer from Kumba to Bamenda to concentrate on being the traditional ruler of his tiny Talangai village on the Kumba Manfe Road, became a real mockery of traditional rule. So naturally, he drifted to politics. You see, you must also be able to establish this difference. Traditional rulers in the grass field, the farms, and traditional rulers in the forest zone, that's it. I mean, there is a great difference as to the level of the commitment of the community towards their upkeep. Because the upkeep of traditional rulers in the forest zone has never ever been the responsibility of the people. Of course, I have lived and worked in the forest zone, and I have a clear understanding of how these things happen. It really never was the same thing, and so that particular analogy misses the point immediately. Of course, Dr. Atem Ebako never really stopped practicing medicine. He might have decided to stop working with the private sector by refusing his transfer, but he continued to be in practice as a medical doctor. If he went destitute, that really wouldn't be because he refused to take a transfer. It could have been personal reasons. But don't forget, he eventually became a member of the board of directors of CRTV. You understand what I mean by that? So it says most educated citizens live out of their villages and only go back occasionally. This creates a void in the life of any ruler who, as a human being, likes to get involved with doing something profitable. I strongly suggest that you disabuse yourself of designating traditional rulers using a disdainful epithet, that is slaves, and it says good luck. I won't call his name. It's true that he actually did give his name, but I mean, I really wouldn't bother to get down to that. But this is what I want to say here, and I want us to take note of it really seriously. My people of Ambazonia, we all know when our funds descended into this very disgraceful attitude. We know that at the dawn of a return to multi-party politics in 1990, following the fall of the Berlin Wall, where I mean a wave of freedom swept across a lot of Africa and the communist world and all of those, Mr. Paul Biya saw his influence waning, and that's when he created a 2% of individuals who started calling themselves elite. Those are members of the CPDM crime syndicate who realized that their survival would depend on exploiting, especially in the grass field, where opposition to Paul Biya was so strong. This, especially in the west region of La République du Cameroon and the grass field of the southern Cameroons, where the allegiance of the people to their traditional institutions was very strong, that they needed to exploit that to force the people to support the regime of Mr. Paul Biya. We all heard disgraceful situations as funds passing injunctions in the village that if people failed to vote for the CPDM, they were going to be cursed, they were going to be ostracized, they were going to be, in some cases, we even heard funds called people and threw, sticks for the people to cross on those sticks on oath, to swear an oath that if they failed to vote for the CPDM, this or that thing could happen to them. That is when these funds started losing influence. That is when these funds started losing their grip on the local people. That is when people who could never look at the fund in the face and tell him to go to hell, and who refused to be forced into the crime syndicate called CPDM, started telling the funds to go to hell. That is the time when the funds started descending into the abyss. So it is not as a result of rural exodus or people getting educated and all of those things. All our villages, All the people who were cultivating farms in the villages still had ridges that they called the Fawn's Ridge. That every crop that grew on that ridge was harvested and directed to the palace for the upkeep of the farm. Even right up to this day, despite them descending so seriously low, a lot of our people, be them the members of the CPD and crime syndicate, those of the opposition or well-meaning non-aligned people who are neither of who belong to none of those to neither of those political parties, still continue to care for a lot of our funds. Just that the level of care has reduced depending on the level of respect that they still attribute to that individual. In South, for example, the people never ever stopped paying respect to their form until very recently when he himself descended to the lowest of the lows and finally abdicated all by himself and handed himself over to the enemy to begin protecting him. These are truths that we need to know. These are truths that we must uphold, and these are truths that we must continue to tell for everyone who has ears to listen and to understand. We should never compromise on issues like this one because it is very, very important for us to keep these records always as straight, clear, and as shiny as the case should be. Forms who have never dabbled into politics, into party politics, who have remained above party politics and then reign over all their subjects, both those who belong to the civilian crime syndicate and those who belong to the opposition and those who don't belong to any political parties. Those forms continue to enjoy serious support and massive respect from their people, both at home and abroad. This is putting the record straight. That said, I was talking about Bambalam, and there is a local champion in Bambalam who has refused to learn the lessons that our brother Ekema learned, unfortunately, in the world beyond. He has refused to learn the lesson that our brother Savior, the guy in Batibo called himself General Savior, has learned, unfortunately, in the world beyond. He has refused to learn the lesson that Yanikawa Kawa, Naseri Clovis, and well others are learning in limbo because they have tapped nothing, benefited nothing from this system. Our brother who has refused to learn from what just yesterday, a certain Dr. Cho Waters a year has learned, he's refusing to learn the lesson that Moja Moja is learning now, unfortunately, in a very horrible place. He's a local champion there in Bamesing. Unfortunately, as at the time I was coming here, I did not forget his name. I'd like you to listen to the rubbish that he's talking about here. And he's doing this under the guidelines of this individual. His name is Muntong Richard, who calls himself Fon of Bambala. Listen.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. I don't come for the evening, for the afternoon, to talk about the only bro from Bamesen, alias Sipenga. I want to look up, say this Bamesen, so Bamesen, they go now up, or they can down. When I see how they don't take good drum from Bamali Junction, good drums, they go reach for inside Bamalis, go for Bambala. But since from Sabga, you want to go down, go reach for Bamsen and suffer. When at the first village that way is starting to Tunja, when at the village became a day proud, the village became the enjoy, but at the village that way is starting to Tunja. What's that on a day? But the problem, the one point I say, Bamsen, they were in year 12. Person they stay inside Lafia bush. When they carry money, send and I don't tell when I say it be compound fool. Compound fool, and I believe me. When I say money, but the message when I even send money for you, you know they delete the message. You go free yourself now. But after everything, we not overday for that one plenty. I will day for that one, I will not overday with the reason. Because the any person that will take in now, he will show, he will must give it, so give it the only bro. He will must give it that Cyprian girl alias the only bro. He will give it. Robbie Hunter. And he talk it in the repeat time. My brother them. Muna see. SDF and Domna Bamison. Would the other people then go on? Would they put them for up or they bring them down? Who phone them for they would put phone for up or they bring phone for down? Who phone we don't use some word. Say before on the 1st of January. If we are not put a gun there for down, when I was surprised it will happen. Now in that it happen. Let me say, no peace for Bamison now again. Timuna stop me the other bro. Come on, stop, owe me the key. No peace. Even when I need peace, when I must show me the other bro more key. And when I stop with the sending money, then show him more key. Nothing that I tell now for the evening. Because you don't too much. You go for you go for limbe. People then they way I never ever believe. They will never see me, they dodge me, they hide, they run me. I don't even know the reason. But God don't move on a secret. Because when I say money, they delete the message. When I name the number the big store for your phone. You don't already open the secret. When I change the number, I don't already know now all. I don't already know all now. When I don't feel hide again. When I don't feel hide. But I don't already know. I just talk to one because wait he. When I be my brother them. When I be my brother them, when I be my sister them. When I be my mommy them, when I be my father. Pardon day for Douala. They even talk small picking about pardon day for Douala. When they are number, they are the big surprise, are the big shock. Are the shock for the pardon. Are the shock. Yaoundé. 3 people then there for Yaoundé. Are the shock for them too. I never ever believe. But me man not say no. He go give the other bro, can't give a colonel, can't give a general, can't give a this side, give a minister. He say no. When you go by, minister will deal with it. Minister will say push you over front. Minister will say no know you because you want put it for problem. Colonel will say no know you because you want put it for problem. That general will say no know you. You go call and no one man will deal with you because the bad thing way to follow. So I don't overget praying for talk. I don't talk go too much. I want to just say, long live.
So, my dear people of Ambazonia, you have followed clearly that local champion is in Bamising. This is a son of Bamising. If you are from Bamising, you are from Gokotunjia and you're following this broadcast, you definitely know the name of this local champion because I've tried to reach out to a couple of people. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time and I could not get his name. Of course, you know his name, you definitely put his name on the comment section. And that will be very important for the people of Bamising to know that this is the individual who is promising death, who is promising destruction to a lot of people in the community. You hear him threatening people in Douala, threatening people in Limbe, threatening people all over the place. And he tells you, if you don't come to guide him towards where your son is, that your son, who is fighting to liberate homeland, who is fighting in the interest of the people to give him so that he and his friends of like people to come, we should kill him. He doesn't hide the ambition. He said, if you not bring the Akanji, me will kill him. If don't give him, to them. He is working in league with Mr. Kwetong and Deson Konge, who is the colonial senior divisional officer from Gokotunjia. Of course, you heard him name him. He is working in connivance with this fellow who calls himself a Fon. His name is Richard Muntong. You see him there. He has moved to Douala. Of course, he has abdicated to Douala. He has even built himself a house in Douala. Some of the sons and daughters of Bamising, who, a good lot of them, members of the CPD and crime syndicate, others who just want to, be in his good books because of this kind of threats that you are hearing, recently bought him that car that you see standing there. But now he's built himself a house, so he's completely abdicated. He's no longer, a Bamising man. He has moved completely to Douala now, just like just like those who call themselves elite of East Timor had moved and constructed themselves houses in Indonesia, and were so convinced that if things get rough and East Timor came to become a country, they would just take citizenship in Indonesia and remain there. It never came to pass, because the people of Indonesia ended up realizing that these are the people who deceived them from doing the right thing early enough that could have helped them to have at least some better working relationship with East Timor than they ended up having, than they ended up being disgraced out of the place. So he has moved to Douala, and it is at his behest that this local champion is promising death to all the people that he has now in his own personal directory in Limbe, in Douala, and all of those things. And he raises one very interesting element there. You see, because our people are caught in between and betwixt, and I've said this always, they give money to La République du Cameroon ministers to buy their heads so they can allow them to continue to do their businesses. They give money to the colonial senior divisional administrator, who happens to be their own brother, just to stay alive. They give money to the colonel, as he's saying, La République du Cameroon's forces of occupation. They give money to the general, as this local champion. See, he's the one saying, not me, to General Buba de Becrio in Upstation in Bamenda, to save themselves. And at the same time, he says they also give money to the self-defense volunteers to stay safe. And now he is saying he has the names of all of these people who are distributing money to everyone, and now tells them, because you gave money to everyone and then ended up giving to your son, the only bro, death is going to be your portion. My dear people of Ambazonia, I bring these things here so that we continue to see by day and by night that too often the problem that we face is not so far away. It's always too close to us. Too close to us. He is believing that he is on top of the world. From my findings, he is a stark illiterate who will never benefit anything from La République du Cameroon. Even those who went to school, like the so-called Dr. Cho Waters, are here and were hoping only to be recruited to teach in the university system, have ended up licking their fingers, licking their wounds. You saw Mook Santos and others only ended up being given, as he said himself, 35 million CFA. You have seen Nkonda titles who can only boast of being given 15 million CFA francs once in a while. From all of those things, there's certain way that they are going to end. It's destruction. Yet, someone like this, a stark illiterate, believes that he's on top of the world because he's moving around with the bees, drinking with them, exchanging women with them, eating with them. Sometimes they even give him some of their military paraphernalia he wears. He's moving around with with a stick and all of those things. And he thinks he's on top of the world. Savior did that same thing. Moja was even a soldier of the bee. Ekema was even mad. They did not spare any of them. It's not you. My people, they will never learn. Let's take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll get into the real substance of today's conversation.
Ambazonia, in your life, never to fall again. Yes, Obia, if you don't be that Satan, why be say anytime we want something, we will benefit and go forward. We get for fight, protest with brothers and sisters, and they get for die. See, University of Boya, University of Bamenda, when we fight with GC born, all there's also francophone, they don't take am over. No be so? Yes, na so. Every city where we think say, far as the partner for them we go chop, manage something for get work, we begin them. You don't bring your francophone, they don't take am over.
That's a very good number. I mean, I did upload it separately. If you like that number, of course, you can go on the JMA Connections and you'll sort out and you'll find this very beautiful piece. I want to give kudos to our brothers who made this a beautiful compilation to immortalize our struggle. My dear people of Ambazonia, I like to say this. Let no man write my epitaph. When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, then shall my character be vindicated. Then may my epitaph be written. This is a piece from Robert Emmett. I'm appropriating this piece to myself today, because it's very relevant in what we are going to be talking about right ahead. And again, he says, let no man write my epitaph. Yeah. When my country takes her place among the nations of the earth, then shall my character be vindicated. Then may my epitaph be written. If I happen to fall before Ambazonia comes to reality, because he will come, no man should be in a haste to write me an epitaph. Just like he says, take your time. Only write me an epitaph when my country, the former UN Trust Territory of British Southern Cameroons, aka Ambazonia, will take her place among the nations of the earth as a beacon of democracy, a beacon of freedom, a land of milk and honey, where our people will be free to define their own development priority, where their people will be free to couch their own vision of how we want our society to look like, when my people will be free to put in place a system where you will not be given a job because of whose son you are, because of whose name you bear, because of what language you speak, because of what village community you come from, but because of what you know, but because of what you can offer, but because of what you bring to the table. Where we will have a level playground where all can share the opportunities that will be aplenty, where all can aspire to get to any level in our land without being discriminated upon because they do not belong to one caste or the other, where we will have only possibilities, a land of possibilities. We have seen that in other countries. We are enjoying it in the United States of America. My people of Ambazonia, this dream we couch is a strong dream. Some say it's only a dream, but they forget that everything, every piece of development that you have seen today began only as a dream. Because it first of all happens in the spirit before it will manifest in the physical. So if you don't dream it, you will never have it. Mind this. Today, this 11th day of February, while I was on my way driving back from work to my house, I received a call. This call was from a number I didn't know because it was actually anonymous, so the number did not show. And this individual told me, Mr. Akuro, I want you to listen and listen very well. His language was not very clear. His voice was a mixture. I don't know if deliberately the person tried to mask the voice. I said, I want you to listen to me and listen very well. I says, don't bother to ask me who I am or know me, but I want to tell you. I want to tell you that you've been making that your noise for a long time. We have allowed you to talk and talk and talk in the hope that you're going to realize yourself and stop someday. But you have decided not to learn from what has happened to others. You have decided that you will not stop until we stop you. And right now, we are determined to stop you. Question for me: who exactly are you? His response: it doesn't matter. I could have stopped the call, but I decided to listen on. And he said, I want to let you know, you made all this noise, you ranted so much over CRTV over the years, we let you be. We thought it was going to end just there. You managed to escape from us there. But take note, now we are just too many who are out there for you. Your days are definitely numbered. And so, if you are wise, shut your mouth. Maybe we will reconsider. Otherwise, keep talking, and you will soon discover for yourself that dead people don't talk. When he finished this, he dropped the call. But before he dropped the call, I was trying to tell this individual, you didn't need to hide your face. You didn't need to hide your name. You didn't need to even mask your voice. You should have come open, clear, and direct. Because I won't even report you. That is not even, that won't be necessary. Because I have faced these threats before. I have faced them a lot of the time. You people are not after me only today. You have always been after me. But that being that kept saving me from your hands is still alive. And it is only him. Because he alone knows the end from the beginning. He alone knows when my end will come. And it is when he would have granted that my end will come. But even the day he grants that my end has come, it will be because he would have raised another one, even more powerful, more determined, sharper than myself, to pick up the mantle. Because you have to learn to live with it. Ambazonia will be, and nothing will stop it. So it's when I was saying this, Emily said, we will see. And then it dropped. My dear people of Ambazonia, I'm saying this to let each and every one of us know that as long as we're involved in this liberation movement, we hold our lives in our hands each and every day. What they fail to understand, what La République has failed to understand until this day, is that the 8 million people, that among the 8 million people of Ambazonia, at least 7,800,000 or 900,000 have already defeated death. Because we long refused to be afraid of death. That is why, despite the visitation of torture, dehumanization, and death that they have brought on our people, incarceration, all kinds of things, our people have refused to give up. Our people have made clear, we will restore the soul of our land. Ambazonia will be, whether you like it or not. Whether you silence me or you don't, Ambazonia will be. And I am in a haste to recall, for their own edification, that right in Cameroon, where they thought I was quarantined, and they even bragged about it, before they knew it, I was out there in Nigeria. None of them has an idea how I got there. None of them knew how I got there. They girded their loins and they said, we will continue. When they came to Nigeria in January of 2018 and captured Sisi Kwayuktabe and members of his cabinet at Nera Hotel, they were convinced that I was among. You can infer from them. Because after they dumped and they dagger, when they eventually came to pick them out, they did ask for me. And our people, my brothers, were afraid that I could be rushing to Abuja to find out what had happened to them and walk straight into the trap, not knowing that I was also a target. I had known, I had information too already that we were all in trouble. Of course, I had discussed before how I shared this information with Sisiku and Yuktabe and warned him about what was to come. None of us ever expected that this was going to be a walk through the back. None of us ever expected that La République du Cameroon and France would give up without a fight. None of us ever expected that they will not play dirty because that is their second nature. I'm sure a lot of our people recall that on the 21st of March 2018, a journalist of Vision Card by name Ernest Obama hashed an article on Vision Card in which he said about the journalist John Bakuro that I was totally encircled in Nigeria. He even revealed that by the time I returned from the United States to Nigeria, by the end of 2017, my visa had expired and I would not have any opportunity to renew it because they had taken dispositions to make sure it would never be renewed. And that I was locked in Nigeria. I will not be able to move out of Nigeria because they have taken all the measures to ensure I'm locked inside there, and that it was only a matter of time before I will be picked up. Of course, a compatriot shared that video with me on the 21st of March, but I landed in the United States of America on the 20th of March, and I had the pleasure to watch the video of how I was locked in Nigeria. They have always been after me. It's never been a mystery to me. So I'm letting them know that just like the other millions of Southern Cameroonians, of Ambazonians, I already conquered death. None of us is afraid of death or anything. Is it imprisonment? Is it torture? Is it whatever? We have been living with it. A good lot of us know. When we see the next day, we thank God that we have seen it. Because we know who we are up against. That we are up against the most tyrannical regime that has ever existed. That we are up against the most corrupt system that has ever existed on planet Earth. That are ready to mortgage every resource to hire people to kill us through apparent or orchestrated road accidents, or orchestrated armed robbery attacks, or through poisoning, or even finance family members, close friends and everything to get to us, to get at us. That we are not unaware. It's been their tactic. All over the years, of course, nobody doubts how they got Pius Njahwe, the journalist of the Republic of Cameroon, here in the United States of America. We are aware that there are a good lot of them who have even also infested our liberation movement and are loitering among us, claiming to be with us and for us, but whose mission is only trying to see how they can facilitate either bribing us out of the liberation movement or helping to guide on how we should be gassed out, or see exactly how they can cause us one form of harm or the other. But trust me, folks, we will ride on. We are not the first liberation movement to witness such. You ask the people of Eritrea, they will tell you the same harrowing tales. You ask the people of South Africa who fought against apartheid, they will tell you the same harrowing tales. You ask the people of South Sudan, they will tell you the same harrowing tales. You ask the people of East Timor, it's the same thing that they are going to be telling you. But my dear people of Ambazonia, we will stand. We will continue to stand. Nobody, no man or woman born of a woman will shut me down. I will fight until that day. But I want to assure them that none of them has my life in their hands. He who created me and picked me to be part of this liberation movement knows when I will end. My dear people of Ambazonia, I'm saying this to reassure our people wherever they may be to bear this in mind, that I will continue to fight here and to stand for those truths that hurt them until our people learn collectively to continually stand for what we believe in until we get what we want. Nothing will stop us. I'm saying this also, and this is the first time I'm saying it, because there are some also in our midst who reached out to me several times, even when I was in Nigeria, shortly after the capture of the Naira 10. I was a lady from Manu in the United States of America. Something told me call her name, but I've decided to withhold it for now. But she's from Manu. She knows herself very well. She was in communication with me and did everything to cause me to trust her. And all she wanted to do was as much as possible to see how to help me to move on to safer shores. But all she was interested in was know exactly where I was. Whereupon I said at the time I was in Kenya. And I gave her that decoy all the way to the end. But in the end, the least piece of information that I gave her that sounded close to what was going to be the reality, that I was going to be flying into the United States of America on the 21st or on the 22nd of March from Nairobi, Kenya, 2 days after. I heard it. I heard it from the voice of someone who called himself Bush Hunter, Fritz Tucker. At that time, he was not given a prophecy that he was prophesying, that he was praying and he saw me flying from Nairobi, from Kenya, and I'll be landing in America the very next day, and I'm coming to America to get a leak with Eric Chinje, and we'll begin to do classmates issues. This struggle is not about classmates. He did not know that much as I worked at CRTV, where senior brother Eric Chinje had worked before. Eric Chinje, I never ever met him in that structure. He and I have never met face to face. I guess if he knows me or knows my name, he must have seen me on the screens. I know him, know his name, because growing up, these were people senior brothers were looked up to and respected. He was a man of metal, a venerated professional who never joked at any single instant while he practiced his profession when it came to standing by truth and practicing the real ethics of journalism. We know how he loved, but he and I have never met, let alone you say classmates. But those are the kinds of things that we get in this liberation movement. I'm saying this to draw the attention of each and every one of us. Be careful who you trust, how you trust them, what level of information you give them about yourself, your everything, because there is so much that we have to know about this liberation movement. And so therefore, I'm saying this to let us know why we have to keep strong and continue to be strong. We must bear in mind that anything too can happen to us at any time. If you have not made up your mind that you are fighting and know that it is possible that you will not be there when this country comes to fruition, then you are not a revolutionary. Because a lot of our self-defense volunteers who are standing on the front lines and putting their everything and dying for us, too often when they are going to the battlefront, they are even aware that they may not come back. That's why they taught themselves to sing this song when they are going to the battlefront, where they say, "Mama, don't be worried. Papa, I am going far away. If I happen to fall on the battlefield, never mind, we shall meet again." This song is supposed to find meaning in our hearts and minds, all of us. If you are truly in this liberation movement, wholeheartedly, know that wherever you are, whatever you are doing, anything can also happen to you. But what we are fighting for is bigger than all of us. The more reason why it It really doesn't have to be about us. And they said, it is for this reason that you hear some of our people today screaming on rooftops, oh, I have stopped contributing my money because I want the groups, I want the leaders to come together, I want them to unite and have only one place where they are collecting money before I finance this struggle. Otherwise, I cannot put in my money. Now, listen, there are too many of you that I know that at the start of this liberation movement were ready to pour in tens of thousands of dollars to move this liberation movement ahead. At some point, you said, oh, you were burnt out, it was donor fatigue because some people had embezzled money, some people had gone up, some people have gone down. Now you say, oh, you're even standing on the sideline when they talk to you, say, oh, no, don't come and talk to me about that. You post Ambazonia until you people have made up your minds to unite, to have synergy. This liberation movement has not stopped to wait until that time when groups, movements, and organizations unite. This liberation movement has not stopped to wait until that time when all leaders will start speaking one language, to wait until that time when we will have total synergy. This liberation movement has not stopped. Our self-defense volunteers have not down their tools to wait for that moment until when there will be total synergy, total unity of purpose and everything before they will pick up their tools again to continue to fight to free homeland. Our civilian population on the ground have not stopped observing Country Sunday, have not stopped observing lockdown day, have not stopped boycotting everything like we do to Cameroon, be them this lie like 11, like February 11, like 20th May, or boycotting any kind of thing that has to glorify like we do to Cameroon's presence on our land until there is unity of purpose, until there is synergy, until everybody is working together. No, this liberation movement has not stopped to wait for that. It is going. And so therefore, if you have refused to identify how to continue to be relevant in this liberation movement while also working hard to ensure that we attain that level of unity, synergy, and cooperation that you want, then you were not of this liberation movement. Then you were not really part of it. Yeah, maybe you are part of that early majority that felt that this thing was going to be a thing of a few months or 2 or 3 years, and Ambazonia will come to be, and so you will cement your position as a minister of I don't know what, or you will cement the contracts you already negotiated even before the land is gone. Oh yes, because I know that there are some in this liberation movement that became merchants. We're already selling positions, calling people money, say, how much do you have? Come with it, let me just give your own position. Secretary of State for up, Secretary of State for down, Secretary of State for nonsense, Secretary of State for insults, Secretary of State for manipulation, Secretary of State for, ensuring, the pull him down syndrome and all of those things. And then every month he gives you your $300, your $500, or your $1,000 to keep that position. So when we get to Boya, you occupy that position. Those who had all those illusions and they thought it was going to happen the next day, those are the people who are standing on the sidelines now and claiming that they are standing on the sidelines because there is no synergy. But when they get up in the morning, they pick up their phones and want to rush inside to see what has happened where. No, you're not waiting for unity to happen before you come. You're not waiting for synergy to happen. You are waiting for the day where you get up in the morning and they say, everything has ended. We are finally surrendered to the Republic du Cameroon. So you can go back down now and on the ashes of our dead people and begin to do your investments and giving the share of La Republic du Cameroon to protect whatever investments you have. You were not part of this movement. If you are truly committed to this movement, if you truly feel that we need a homeland, you will not wait. You will at least identify some area in this movement that is important and that is functioning and continue to finance it while continuing to contribute effort, not standing on the sidelines to see that we get more efficient. Don't get me wrong. Unity of purpose, synergy, absolute unity, working together will shorten our journey to freedom land. But staying in disparate ranks will lengthen it. It doesn't mean it will kill it. But everything cannot stop until we attain that ideal moment. I wonder which liberation movement has ever attained that ideal moment. There is none. People kept moving. Kept moving. People kept moving. They kept doing something. They kept identifying one area or the other that they can support. Our refugees, in their numbers, are dying because they can't have 5,000 naira to buy aspirin, to buy Tylenol, or to buy anything to cure themselves. No, a good lot of them. We have internally displaced people who are dying because they can't have the means of livelihood. And now we have foot soldiers who are being killed because by the nature of their own activities, they don't have the means to conceal their communications. Just like you heard that lunatic talking there. To conceal their communications, a lot of them are being reviewed and killed by the day. Because we are holding back, claiming that we are waiting for that moment when ideally everybody will come together and swear, no, we are together now, before we finance this liberation movement. It is not stopping, sir. It is not stopping, madam. If you are in this liberation movement for freedom, you will stand up and you will find a way always of financing this liberation movement to make sure we secure ourselves a homeland. I'm convinced more than ever before today that, as a lot of people have heard, that even in the United States of America, where we are now, even if you say you are a citizen, you are not secure, you are not sure, because there is at least a structure put in place to denaturalize people who have committed one crime or the other, or who are wanting for one reason or the other. It should be a wake-up bell in your mind that citizenship that you acquire through naturalization is paper citizenship, and it can still be taken away from you. The only citizenship that will never be taken away from you is your natural citizenship. That is why there is no place like home. That is why it is important for us all to fight like hell to make sure we recover homeland, to make sure we free homeland, so that we will have a place we can lay claim to as being our own land. When they know that you have a place that you are proud of, that you can go back to any day, anytime, anyhow, they won't treat you poorly. They will not treat you and me the same way they will treat a Frenchman who is in this country illegally. No, they won't. Because at least he has a place he can go back to that he calls home. They will not do that to a Swiss. They will not do that to a British citizen. They will not treat them the same way they will treat you and I. Yes, because you and I will even get to that point where we will say, I'd rather commit suicide than go back to where I'm coming from, because of what you know is waiting for you. My dear people of Ambazonia, I said a while ago, I know some of these truths will really anger some people. I know some of these truths will make some people mad. But bear this in mind and bear it on me. As Baruch Spinoza says, that I have tried sedulously not to laugh at the act of man, not to lament them, not to detest them, but to understand them. Let me take this back in case you didn't get it well. That I have tried sedulously not to laugh at the acts of man, not to lament them, not to detest them, but to understand them. That is why, my people of Ambazonia, some of the truths that's like right ahead in this broadcast, I told you it was going to be a pretty long one, because this one, like I said, is the epitaph. This is the epitaph. But again, if they ever succeed, if God ever lets them do it on me, don't be in a haste to write me that epitaph. And if it happens before Ambazonia comes to pass, don't be in a haste to write that epitaph. Wait, like I said earlier, let no man write my epitaph when my country takes place, when my country takes her place among the nations of the earth. Then shall my character be vindicated. Then may my epitaph be written. That is my submission. My dear people of Ambazonia, I said a while ago that nothing is waiting. I said nothing is waiting. I see somebody saying we may need a short break again. Okay, no problem. Let's take a very short break, 30 seconds only.
You must be passé before one can join you. Southern Cameroon, they became the first democratic government for Eastern Africa. When people don't vex for 2016, say enough is enough, they get to take their country back. United Nations Resolution 1608, where we become together like two separate countries for Federal Republic of Cameroon. You and France would have canceled. Instead for you, for God apologize.
Okay, we've come right back. I was saying a while ago that this liberation movement is not waiting. It will not wait until that time when all the ideal conditions have been put in place. It is ongoing. People are dying in real time. Oh yes, people are fighting and pushing back La République du Cameroon in real time. People are resisting La République du Cameroon in real time. And you and I must also rise to the occasion and continue to do this in real time while we still continue to push for the ideal conditions that we want to be in place to come into being. I said that when we decide that we are waiting, we have a lot of people who are dying. Take a look at my screen here. These two people you see here, these are not a couple. No. The man in white that you see there, his name is Ba George Formatum. And the lady you find there, her name is Chancel. Yeah, her name is Chancel. This gentleman and this lady you see there were brutally, I mean very brutally murdered by soldiers of La République du Cameroon in Naka. Naka is a locality in Bali. They were brutally murdered in Naka. That is mile 87, and that is in Bali. So the gentleman you see there is he was the chairman of the Presbyterian Church congregation in Naka, and the young lady that you see there was the cheerleader. Her name is Chanceline. I said Chancel was Chanceline. She was the cheerleader of the Christian Youth Fellowship group, also in Naka. These two people, those two individuals, were pulled out of their homes and killed by the soldiers of La République du Cameroon in a very brutal manner. And when they were killed and they left, of course, as always, manipulations took central stage. You start hearing about unidentified gunmen, and then they will tell you that although no one has claimed responsibility, fingers are being pointed at those they call separatists or self-defense forces and the likes. Let me be clear here. You see, this gentleman is one of those foot soldiers on ground zero who took upon himself to go from one community to the other in and around Bali and in some parts of Chomba to try to build bridges between the self-defense forces and the local population. He heeded to the call that we have always made and worked very hard to ensure that the civilian population was protected at all times. Because I said it always before, where there is synergy between the self-defense forces and the local population, the people will be protected. What was his role? He was not a fighter. He never supplied anything like weaponry or anything, or even finances to the Southern Cameroon for to the Ambazonian self-defense forces. No. All he did was hold meetings here and there with people to say, if you want assistance from the people, ask for this assistance peacefully. Don't brutalize them. Don't take it by force. His role was to say, create safe corridors where our mothers, our fathers, and the young people who want to cultivate crops, who want to cultivate the fields, want to do agriculture, will do safely without being attacked for one reason or the other. He contributed a lot in letting the self-defense forces understand that if you want to get into confrontation with the soldiers of La République du Cameroon, go meet them in terrains where the civilian population is far away from, so that the people will not be victimized after your actions. This gentleman, Ba George Formatum, was not a fighter. But just like you heard that lunatic in Bamesing talking, that is how some individuals in the community went surreptitiously and gave his name to the soldiers of La République du Cameroon, to the B, and told them that this man was a friend of the self-defense forces, that he was harboring them because he had a drinking spot, that he was harboring them, they were drinking at his place, he was very friendly to them, that he was even financing them, and that transactions were even being made through him to supply them with resources to fight. The same thing they talked of this poor lady, Chanceline, who was selling food. She was cooking food and selling in the bar where this Ba George Formatum was selling his drinks. She was just selling food. And her crime became that she was supplying food to the self-defense forces. And so, they were set up. The first step is that the soldiers of La République du Cameroon came around and burnt down the compound of Mr. Ba George Formatum. They burnt down his compound to ashes, took him away, detained him, held him for some time, I think along with his wife. And finally, when they released him, they forced him to promise that he was going to work with the forces of La République du Cameroon to set up the self-defense volunteers, to set up our self-defense forces for capture. And they told him to lure them all the time to come to his bar and then give them a call whenever they are there, so they will come and capture them and go and kill them. The same thing they told Chanceline. One way or the other, apparently, when Ba George Formatum's house was burnt down, when he was captured and kept for some time, they even extorted from him before setting him free on those conditions. And when they set him free, apparently, the self-defense forces sensed that that freedom would never have just come like that, because they already have a clear idea of exactly how the forces of La République du Cameroon operate. And of course, I've told our people all the time, there are always informants among the forces of La République du Cameroon, among those B people. And these people always inform our self-defense forces or inform people who inform our self-defense forces. And so apparently aware, they completely stayed away from Bar George Formatum's place. And so, when a few days ago, the self-defense forces carried out some actions and set some explosive device that killed a number of La République du Cameroon forces in a makeshift camp that they created somewhere around Mile 90 or somewhere towards Mwakan. They thought they had had enough. And they said, since they set Bar George Formatum free and got into a deal with him and Chanceline, they have never got a single denunciation from him or any piece of information from him saying they had either seen the self-defense forces going this way or the other way, or that they were at his bar drinking and they should come for their capture. And so their conclusion was that since they believed that he was cooperating with them before, that he had simply continued to cooperate with them and had informed them never to come again to his place because his bar was under watch. And so they came for him on this fateful day. When they came, they met him. He was with people behind his house or behind his business place. They were drinking and they were having a meeting. So they called him out of that meeting. You know what they did? They shot him in the chest twice and on the head and killed him. And when they did, the soldiers of La République du Cameroon, for that they got his wife mercilessly beaten. Mercilessly beaten. The first people met her, of course, she confessed to them that they were forces of La République du Cameroon. And when they killed him, they asked the people who were sitting there and drinking with him, who should be aggrieved that their brother had just been killed, they asked them to clap for them for shooting him dead. And you know what is even most ridiculous about it? The man who shot Bar George Formatum is a son of Balinyunga, who happens to be a member of the B of La République du Cameroon. A son of Balinyunga. It won't be long before we will get his name. You will hear fallacy like you have seen here. They now go and publish here, as you are seeing on that article, they say the persons were shot dead on Sunday night. They're talking about the Sunday. This Sunday is the 9th of February. That they were shot dead on Sunday night around Nakao, my 87 Bamenda, Northwest Region. A source has confirmed to CNA. And they said armed men opened fire on the victims, killing him on the spot, or killing on the spot the chairman of the Presbyterian Church congregation of the area, George Formatum, and another member of the church who belongs to the Christian Youth Fellowship Group CYF, Chanceline, was also killed. And then they go further to say, and I know you won't say this, that's why I took a second screenshot, and they go further to say, down there, that sources added that the victims were targeted because their houses were attacked by the armed men. Are you understanding here? They say sources say they were targeted because their houses were attacked by the armed men. Did you hear that? They were targeted because their houses were attacked by the armed men. So, if the armed men come and burn their house, then they will target them. No. Everyone that knows their houses were burnt down by the forces of La République du Cameroon. They were captured and detained for some time before being set free on the conditions I outlined earlier. And then this article continues, as usual. They say they were shot as soon as they responded to the authoritative call from those commanding with guns. Though no group has claimed responsibility, sources suspect separatists. Of course, as usual. But my dear people of Ambazonia, I said here earlier, I will not stay silent when I know the truth. I will gas it out because this is too important. And as you will discover, I had the opportunity to talk to someone who happened to have been in the area when the shooting happened. He happened to have been around that area and arrived there time enough to get from those who were there exactly what had happened. Because he's a person who's well known in that community, I'm not going to, play his voice as it is. I will definitely do a little masking on his voice. I'd like you to listen carefully to this communication. Follow.
Yes. 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 Okay.
So did you hear that? So when he shot, they were drinking palm wine. He said Dembu. They were drinking palm wine. So when they came, caught him up, shot him on the chest and shot him behind the head again. And then the man who shot them, of course, was a son of Balinyunga. When he shot, he spoke in Mungaka. He told the people there who were also well molested and said, clap for me. They should clap for him because he shot that man dead in front of them and he shot them in good style. This is horrible. This is inhumane. And like I said, there are always people who are among us. They are always our people. You heard that lunatic from Bamesen. Continue.
Oh, the military, wait, so the military man should be Nabaliman. So the military man will kill this man. Nabaliman. I see. Okay. I see. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, long story short, that's exactly what happened. That's how they killed Chanceline, and that's how they killed Bad George Formatum. And the reason they killed them are the reasons I have just advanced to you. My dear brothers and sisters of Ambazonia. And you see, as soon as they did it, they had their agents who immediately misinformed those who were coming for information to say it was unidentified gunmen and that the way it happened and all or not, Odono group has claimed responsibility, fingers are being pointed at the separatists. Hell no. This is exactly what happened. And like I said before, knowing what role, I've told you people here a lot of the time, that we have a lot of foot soldiers on the ground whose role is to go from community to community to try to build synergy between the self-defense fighters, between our freedom fighters and the local population to ensure the safety of the civilian population. These manipulations have been on and on and on. And we must continue to fight as best we can to establish the truth where it counts. Because it's the same thing that happened with the murder of Barrister Kemende. You must have noticed that I don't say Senator Kemende because as far as Senator is concerned, I don't believe in that. He wasn't representing us there because we had refused to be part of it. But he was obstinate. He felt that, don't forget, that Barrister Kemende was one of the foundation members of the consortium. But in the end, he decided to fall back and said, while others were fighting whatever way, he wanted to go into the parliament of La République du Cameroon and fight there. But you are all aware that the parliament of La République du Cameroon has never had the opportunity even once to discuss this matter, although they claim that we are part of their country. You heard recently that Joshua Ossi had written to the government, to the executive of La République du Cameroon, pleading with them to finally authorize the parliament of La République du Cameroon to discuss the ongoing genocidal conflict in the southern Cameroons. Can you imagine that? People who say they are of another arm of government, that they are elected representatives of the people, that they are representing the whole country in that parliament, and claim that we are part of their country, but say they are struggling to obtain authorization from the genocidal government of Mr. Paul Biya to discuss the Southern Cameroon's question in their parliament. But again, like I said earlier, this is the same manipulation that followed the murder, the brutal murder of Barrister Kemende Henry Gamsi. Just so you know, those who killed Barrister Kemende Henry Gamsi are part of the same group that killed Martinez Zogo in Yaoundé. I always tell our people, don't watch things and forget. Don't hear things and forget. You know, Barrister Kemende Henry was one of those first people in the Senate of La République du Cameroon who continued and came with a lot of evidence to denounce the disappearance of billions upon billions of CFA through budgetary lines 65 and 95, ligne 65 and ligne 95. The same budgetary lines that took Martinez Zogo to his early death. And because Barrister Kemende was too vocal about it and questioned Louis-Paul Motaze about it over and over, took him to task seriously about it in the Parliament of La République du Cameroon, Amogo Belinga, the Minister of Justice, Laurent Esso, Louis-Paul Motaze of Finance, and all those involved were never going to sit quiet and see Barrister Kemende continue to dig into an area that they thought he should never send his nostrils into. It's the same group that killed, that's part of the same group that killed Martinez Zogo in Yaoundé, that got to Bamenda and killed Barrister Kemende. And you want to know? I will give you evidence very soon. Let me first of all visit Capo Daniel, who as soon as that thing happened at the time, came up with the following testimony. Listen to him.
Greetings, fellow Ambazonians. This is Capo Daniel. I have come today to brief you about the assassination in Bamenda of Barrister Henry Kemende. Barrister Henry Kemende, who was a Pan-Cameroonian SDF member of La République Parliament, who was doing so against the wish of our people, was a strong critic of Mr. Paul Biya and was also against Cameroon prosecution of this genocidal war against Ambazonia. He was assassinated in Bamenda following his kidnapping in Mobile petrol station by 4 Cameroon military French-speaking officers. They approached him while he was filling his jeep.
Did you hear what Capo Daniel said? By 4 military officers from La République du Cameroon. One thing I want you to know is that these military officers that killed Barrister Kemende were not among the regular soldiers dispatched by La République du Cameroon to occupy our land and who were fighting in Bamenda and the environs. No, they were not. These were special forces sent from Yaoundé by the Directorate General of External Research for this specific mission. Capo Daniel was aware then. Let's follow again.
With petrol, they bundled him, put him inside his jeep, drove him up to Maitunkwen, where he was removed and shot from behind. The bullet penetrated his heart. He was then rushed to the hospital by bystander, where he was pronounced dead. The few words he uttered to the people who carried him to the hospital was identifying his killers as Cameroon military men, and he promised them, he told them he had money in his account. Unfortunately for him, money could not save him. He was pronounced dead as soon as he arrived in a PMI health center in Kwen.
So did you hear that? That before he passed, before he died, Barrister Kemende Henry Gamsi himself, his last words to the people who surrounded him was that he was shot by members of the armed forces of the Republic du Cameroon. These are from the lips of Capo Daniel, not me. This corroborates what I heard from the ground, from intelligence that was gathered at the ground at the time, from hospital sources, from people who happened to, handle him during the last moments before he died. And I'm going to give you another very important element to behold. Follow.
The barrister had contacted me to wish me Happy New Year on the first.
He did. Okay, he contacted Capo Daniel. All right.
Of January, and he informed me that he had changed his WhatsApp number because he was being monitored by the Cameroon military, who are accusing him of supporting the separation of Ambazonia. He told.
Of course, we all know Barrister Kemende was extremely vocal, very, very vocal, not against our liberation movement, like some of those church and bail politicians. He was vocal in the interest of the people of the Southern Cameroons. What interest then would any Southern Cameroonian have had to take out Barrister Kemende? Capo Daniel says it himself, that Barrister Kemende told him that he was being tracked by soldiers of the Republic du Cameroon, to the point where he changed his number.
Told me that Cameroon officers had visited him in his residence in Yaoundé. That is why he was not available in his regular contact on WhatsApp for a while. Greetings, fellow Ambazonians. This is Capo.
So you heard that. So not only was he being tracked, he was even visited. Just like I told you all here a while ago about the call that I had this 11th of February. So he was even visited, and he confided this in Capo Daniel. And of course, he was killed. And when he was killed, Capo Daniel had what he just said to say. But what is curious, because I want to play this one before I say what I know. But what is curious, and before I take each and every one of us to witness about the facts, what the facts say. What is curious is that this is what the same Capo Daniel spoke a while ago now says today.
Number one person which Ayabacho have committed murder against, which I can testify and confirm, is the assassination and murder of Senator Kemende. I was the Deputy Defense Chief of the ADF. I was a spokesperson of ADF. I approached Ayabacho when Kemende arrived in Bamenda to inform him about his plea that he wants to go to his village and that the ADF should allow him access. Instead,
so he was the defense chief. He said he was a senior deputy defense chief and he was in charge of the ground forces. So, is he telling us that he received and passed instructions to the ADF forces on the ground to commit the murder? Let's hear if that's what he's saying.
Kemende was killed by the ADF. His vehicle was later found in the camp where the ADF Brigade of Tanka was keeping that vehicle. Based on my communication with Ayabacho, Ayabacho was directly involved in the killing of Kemende. It is a fact that the ADF carried out the execution of...
How was he directly involved? You were the defense chief. Did he instruct you? Did he pass the instructions to you? And then you commanded the boys to execute? That is how we know his involvement, because you were in charge of the forces. You were the intermediary. He'll give you instructions, and he'll give you guidelines, and you will give instructions for execution. But let's follow.
Kemende. And that is a fact which he cannot deny, because I can testify of his connection to that particular crime, which I rejected at that moment where he proposed that Kemende should be arrested. He proposed to me that he should be arrested, and he was killed in that process, whether it was done deliberately or not. But the fact that Ayabacho consistently refused to answer my direct question to him during those periods is an indication that he was directly involved in the plot to assassinate Kemende. We also know for sure that there have been CPDM people who were eyeing the seat of Kemende, who had bribed ADF soldiers to carry out the assassination. That one we know for sure. So we know that Ayabacho was involved. Number one.
So you see, between the first clip, where Capo Daniel speaks naturally, fluently, puts the things effortlessly out, and the second clip where you now see him not bothered about being natural, being fluent, but babbling, trying to create connections and to build things that don't really add up. It tells you exactly what this is all about. But now, what do the facts say? And this is about the last thing we're going to say on this broadcast. My people of Ambazonia, don't forget that soldiers of La République du Cameroun based in Bamenda finally did catch up with the 4 individuals who purportedly killed Barrister Kemende. They caught up with the so-called Amber Boys, whom they said killed Barrister Kemende, and they were with his car that they had taken possession of. They met them at a petrol station. There were 4 of them, and the forces of La République du Cameroun shot and killed all 4 of them. Do you recall? Those reports are there. Search it out. The forces of La République du Cameroun killed all four of them. Usually what happens with such high-profile investigations, eventual capture and killing, the forces of La République du Cameroun would take the corpses of these people they will refer to as Amber Boys and go and display them in a public place and call the population to come and witness them, and they will be identifying them. They will keep their ID cards on them and put their sticks on them and say, these are the people who killed Barrister Kemende. Did they do that? Does anyone, anywhere, recall that when the forces of La République du Cameroun finally confronted and killed the 4 individuals who assassinated Barrister Kemende, did they display the corpses? Did they? We know how they operate. When they kill people whom they are accusing of doing something, the corpses are sure to lie somewhere and everybody will come and see. We saw the corpse of big number displayed on the streets in Batibo, in Guzang, the public place of to pass and stayed there for days. We saw them display the remains of General Bitakola in the public place and call people to come and line up in triumph. They did the same thing with the remains of General Transporter. They have been doing that with the corpses. You see, they always do that. They display the corpse and call people to come and see. So these are people who killed a senator, and the forces of La République du Cameroun finally confronted them, not in the bush, not in the forest, at a petrol station, which means in town. Fought with them, killed them. But what happened is that after killing them, when they went out to identify them, they realized that they were soldiers of La République du Cameroun. All of them even French-speaking citizens of La République du Cameroun. Soldiers. And that is why nothing completely was ever said about them again unto this day. When they discovered that those 4 people were all soldiers of La République du Cameroun, from La République du Cameroun, on a special mission. There definitely was miscommunication somewhere. They did not involve the local forces. They didn't have, synergy amongst them. That is how they encountered these people, and because they were armed, they couldn't take chances to go close to capture. They killed. And they were thinking, according to their theory, that they were who they call Amber Boys. But after killing, they went on to identify them, and they saw that they were forces of La République du Cameroun. What followed? Silence radio. I say, what followed? Silence radio. Barrister Kemende died because of Lynn 65 and Lynn 95 at the Ministry of Finance, involving Amugu Bellinga, involving Louis-Paul Motaze, involving Lorenzo, Laurent Esso, the Minister of Justice, involving the Director General of the DGRE, who is also in jail today. That is what killed Barrister Kemende. They want me not to talk. I will keep talking. My dear people of Ambazonia, I know today has been a pretty long day. If you were still here watching until now, then I want to give you kudos. Make sure you share this communication and share as much as you can, because our people deserve to know these truths, because these truths will set our land free. And like I said, don't hesitate to fund your freedom. Fund your freedom. Freedom is not free. Freedom is not free. Fund your freedom. Don't wait until that time when there will be total unity, when there will be total synergy, when everybody will come together. People are still dying every day. The liberation movement is going. The fighting is ongoing. It is not waiting. Nothing has stopped. So you can also stop funding. While we are waiting to put things in the ideal form that we want, we must keep moving. We must keep moving. That means we must keep doing the things that we are supposed to do. I want to thank each and every one of you for being part of this rather long broadcast. And I know that this is already the early mornings of the 12th of February in Ambazonia, in Bamenda, in Ekok, in Ikom, of course also in Accra. It will be the same time in Boya, in Bongo Square, and will be the same time in Ebie. Obviously the same time in Elumbambo. Thank you very much for being part of this broadcast, and to God be the glory.